This is David with High Performance Stoicism. I want to talk to you about value illusions. What are those? Value illusions are what most of us suffer from simply because we don't have the right view of what is good and bad, of what values are. Stoicism has a value theory that is a little complex, but once you get it, it's easy to understand. And once you start applying it to your life, you're going to see some big changes in how you experience things, how you perform, and how you feel about things. All of this will make your life better. So, I'm going to lay out the Stoic value theory in its basics, and then I'm going to talk about value illusions. And once I give a couple examples, you'll see exactly what I mean, and you'll agree that you suffer from these value illusions. The Stoic value theory goes like this: there's only one thing that is good, and that is virtue. That means a state of complete excellence of your soul, of your psyche. So you are courageous, wise, temperate, and just. The only thing that is bad is vice. That means you are cowardly, unwise, self indulgent, and unjust. And that's a pretty bad mix. But according to the Stoics, everybody is either one or the other. And since we're not the virtuous person, the wise man, guess what category we're in? But the Stoics don't restrict what we call value to just these two things, because that's only a little part of what we consider valuable in life. What do we consider valuable? Food, success, family members, recognition, and we could think about many others. But the Stoics take everything that is neither good nor bad, that is everything that is neither virtue or vice. They say all of these things are intermediates. They also call them indifference. Now, some of these, such as health and wealth, these they call preferred indifference. They say it's natural to go for these. But just make no mistake, they are not really goods. Okay? And there's a few reasons for this, but one of the reasons is these things, such as health and wealth, they benefit us sometimes, but they don't benefit us in others. And think about people whose lives are ruined by too much wealth, or even, a strong infusion of wealth. They can blow all that money and then they can become miserable. So things like sickness and poverty, those aren't really bad. They are indifferents or intermediates, but they are dispreferred and they are against nature. So it makes sense that someone would want to avoid being poor. So, in terms of our actions, the Stoics are going to agree with most people that you should go for improvements in health, you should try to get more wealth, and you should avoid poverty and sickness. But none of these are either good or neither good nor bad. Okay, so that's basic Stoic value theory. What about value illusions? Well, a value illusion is where we take something that is not good and believe it to be good, or we take something that is not bad and take it to be bad. It's that simple. And here's what we do this all the time. We think it will be good if I get healthy. We think it will be good if I become wealthy. We think it will be good if I improve my social condition. We think it would be bad if I'm poor, bad if I'm unhealthy, bad if I have a poor social situation. Okay, so whenever we do this, we're having value illusions, but let's get into the specifics so you understand why the term illusion is fitting of this phenomenon. Let's start with things we think are really important. Most people think wealth is good. They would love to be wealthy, and many people devote their whole minds to becoming wealthy. And note, we're not giving a moral judgment here. We're saying it's a value illusion. It really isn't good to gain wealth. And here's what Epictetus says that's important in this area. He says, the things that men admire and work so hard to get prove useless to them once they get them. In other words, they go for wealth and then they get it, and then they see, I was chasing an illusion. It's much like a mirage. You're going down the street, it's super hot, and then you see a puddle ahead. But when you get close to that spot, you see, okay, it was a mirage. That's the same with the things that we think are good, but they are not actually good. Now, here's a recent example. We'll give a couple recent examples. Joe Rogan, when he first started to make a lot of money and moved to Los Angeles, and he got a beautiful apartment and a huge apartment with great things he'd always wanted, like a pool table and so forth. But then he said after a couple months, he realized it's just an apartment, which is true. He thought being in this situation what would be such that it would totally transform his life and make him feel great in a kind of continuous way. Well, where did that come from? Because he thought it was good, but it really wasn't good. It's one of those external things that it's preferred, according to the Stoics, and that is preferred objectively. Go for it, make some more money, but it's not going to give you something that is, by its nature, beneficial. Here's another example, and this is from a man who is called the King of Exits. He's called the King of Exits because he has started over 100 businesses and then made a ton of money when he exited them. Eddie Wilson. And here's a quote that he gave at a conference I was at. He said, even after a $1 billion exit, you can feel empty. Well, that's a pretty big surprise to people who think it will be everything if they have $1 billion. But at some point, and it would be great if you made enough money to have that experience, but it's important to listen to what people say about these things. Here's just an example from my experience. And I would say this is probably the most empty day of my life. I had worked on a dissertation in philosophy for a couple of years. I wrote a dissertation that I believed would change ethics, and I still believe it will. But I wrote this long book. It was over 300 pages. It was highly original, and I gave my dissertation of defense. They said, "Congratulations, Dr. Casper," and I was proud of it. But then total feeling of emptiness because I was expecting something more. I thought it was going to be a good, but it was a fleeting thing. Now I'm a doctor, but what does that mean practically? And that showed me this particular value illusion that I'm talking about. Now, that's a little disappointing to hear because the one thing I would not want you to do is feel discouraged by going for the things you really want in life, like you build a great company where you make great contributions to humanity. I want to encourage you to do that even more than you're doing it now. But the thing to take away from this is, yes, go for great achievements, but recognize the only thing that is good is ultimately inside of you. It's developing your soul to the highest state of excellence possible. The Stoics say being virtuous means you've perfected your soul, and that is the good you should be seeking in life. That's the message. Now, That might be a little bit of a letdown to some of you who hear this kind of thing, but there is another side to this, which is some of the things that you think are bad now, they are value illusions too. And we'll just give you a common example. Let's say you're the kind of person who's not really too social. You're not big on socializing with strangers, but a friend drags you to a party. You're dreading it, but you're thinking it's going to be bad. You're thinking, I'm not going to like those people. Nobody's going to like me. But what happens more often than not, you get to the party and it's all right. You can relate to people. You know how to socialize. You It's not about being the most charming person or dazzling people. It's interacting with them and connecting with them. And you meet some people that are really cool in the experience. And then you look back and say, wow, was I wrong? It wasn't bad. It was cool. So what seemed like a bad thing was not, but this is all about the value illusions that we play on ourselves, and that's the important thing to stress. We play value illusions on ourselves because we have mistaken beliefs about what is valuable. Stoicism ends value illusions once you start practicing it and improving, because you'll start to say, well, I don't really want to go to this party, but that's not the most important thing. I know it won't be bad, even if it's boring. And I'm going to focus on what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on being a more social person. So it's going to be about my improvement, and you can't lose when you do that. On the other hand, when you start to say, okay, I'm building a big project, I'm writing a huge, great book, I'm building an amazing company that's going to help people to improve their lives, whatever it is, what you want to be excited about is, yes, you do want that achievement. That's what gets you up in the morning, and it's great to go to work on it. But that's the key. You're going to shift your attention to what you are doing every day, how you are using your mind every day, and how you're going away from a set of false values that most people have. So that's it for today's talk. Like, subscribe, give me a comment, and we'll see you in the next video.